You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Tia May Ayton plowed through her opponent earlier today, forcing a third-round TKO stoppage in a contest scheduled for 8. And afterwards, she issued her first call-out of anyone in this division, saying, I think I can take all those belts off that Sugar Neeks. Sugar Neeks, who's going to be in action later this week on Friday on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua in defense of her 4 alphabet titles. Having all 4, that basically bottlenecks all the contenders, all the challengers to her. Tia May Ayton being one among them, and Tia thinks that she's ready for her now. But the reality of it is, Tia May Ayton, as talented as she is not currently ranked by any of the 4 major sanctioning bodies. Her name does not appear in the WBA, the WBC, the WBO, or the IBF, and I don't think that Shernika Johnson is just going to willingly give her a title shot, so Tia must go the mandatory route, climbing up those ranks and fighting in eliminators so she can force the issue. Now, via the WBA, America's own Brittany Sims is ranked at number 1. Theoretically, if Tia May Ayton could get her in the ring sometime next year, that could catapult her up the WBA's rank standings. Now, via the World Boxing Council, Turkey's own Serene Satine is ranked at number 1, and the same applies to her. In theory, if Tia could get a fight with her and beat her, that would catapult her up those rankings, but these fighters are noticeably more seasoned, more experienced than Tia May Ayton, and I think she should have a few more fights before she challenges one of them. Via the WBO, Mexico's own Diana Fernandez is ranked at number 1, coming off of her big win over a then unbeaten Nayeli Rodriguez. Via the IBF, former champion Miyo Yoshida is ranked at number 1. As stated, a lot of these fighters have been around a long time, and they're all more seasoned, more experienced, with many more fights and many more rounds in the bank than young Tia May Ayton. With a fighter so young and so talented, it's important to not put the cart before the horse. You have time. You don't need to rush into anything. This gives us a good idea what Tia will spend the next calendar year doing, climbing up those ranks and fighting in those eliminators to eventually secure a mandatory spot. And she may run into one of these fighters, so long as they can hold their position. It's a necessary evil. She has to bank those rounds. She has to make her bones. She thinks she's ready for Shernika Johnson now. I think those eggs need more bacon. In any event, she just advanced to a professional record of 4-0. Congratulations to her. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, late yesterday, I'm sure you heard that Terence Crawford made it official and has hung the gloves up. He has officially retired. This is what I wanted. I didn't want him to linger for another year, trying to figure out what he's going to do next and who he's going to fight. Some say that Yanni Alimkhanalai, being stripped of his 2 alphabet titles, influenced Terence Crawford's decision to retire now, since he was looking at him as a potential opponent option for a move down to middleweight. But Yanni Beck testing positive for a banned substance and potentially being stripped of his 2 alphabet titles takes him out of the running, which would leave Terence with only Carlos Adames and Arislandi Lara to contend with. I love Terence Crawford, but I'm not hyped to see him fight those guys. The Yanni Beck fight would have been a bit more acceptable to me, a bit more intriguing, but even Yanni Beck would pale in comparison to the fighter that he just fought, to the fighter that he just beat. From the moment he got that decision over Canelo, I said it, that's going to be hard to top. Everything else will pale in comparison to that. So there's really not a lot left for Terence Crawford to do in the sport of boxing. He's completed boxing and has that rare opportunity that a lot of boxers don't get to retire on his own terms, unbeaten, as a champion on a high. It's a fairy tale ending, unlike what we saw from Miguel Cotto, who retired losing to Saddam Ali, what we saw from Bernard Hopkins, who retired getting knocked out of the ring by Joe Smith Jr. You know that a lot of the time, most boxers' careers don't have fairy tale endings, so that Terence Crawford did is in keeping with the theme of what we've seen in his career. He's going to do things, and he's going to do them his way, on his terms,
on his time.
I'm happy to see him go. I'm happy to see him cap off an excellent boxing career, a 5-weight, 4-time Ring Magazine, 4-time lineal, 3-time undisputed champion.
He's going to be in the history books now. He is easily a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Now, where you want to rate Terence Crawford on an all-time great list is entirely up to you. We had that conversation yesterday on the live stream. For me personally, I don't keep an all-time great list, as it is far too much data to tabulate when trying to devise an accurate pecking order for all of those fighters across all of those eras and all of those weight classes.
It's a lot.
The most I can say is Terence Crawford is definitely one of the best to ever lace him up, and his accomplishments will not be easily duplicated. It's not easy to become a champion at 5 weights in boxing. A lot of boxers stumble along the way before they even get there, let alone becoming an undisputed champion in 3 of the 5 weight classes. He leaves behind very big shoes to fill, but this is the ideal ending to his career.
I've noticed a lot of boo birds and a lot of naysayers, a lot of jilted Spence fans, even more jilted Canelo Alvarez fans, some claiming that he's ducking the rematch since Canelo had hopes of facing Terence Crawford again in September, as was expressed a little over a week ago by his longtime trainer and manager, Eddie Reynoso, that they were going to sit out all of May and try to come back in September in a second fight with Terence. I personally didn't want to see it, didn't see a need. Terence beat Canelo so comprehensively, I didn't want to see them run it back. What would have been the point?
That wasn't the kind of fight that deserved a sequel, at least not for me. So now Terence Crawford has bowed out. It appears that Canelo Alvarez will linger and continue to fight on, as the reset button has been hit on today's super middleweight division. Terence Crawford having retired, those belts are going to get redistributed. A new line of champions will be crowned. In fact, one already has.
Armando Resendiz. It was announced yesterday via the WBA that Armando Resendiz has now been elevated to full champion, and currently he's the only reigning champion at super middle.
Next in line, via both the World Boxing Council and the World Boxing Organization, is former undisputed champion Canelo Alvarez, who's ranked at number 1 with the WBC and number 1 with the WBO. We know of a previous order from the World Boxing Council for Hamza Shiraz and Christian Mabili to fight for the newly vacated WBC title, but I think they'll hold off on that order if they can put that title in Canelo Alvarez's hands. As soon as he wants it, I think he can have it.
Let's not pretend that the World Boxing Council doesn't have a preference, because we all know they do. They were getting hefty sanctioning fees from Canelo Alvarez on a regular basis without interruption, and I think they would much prefer to put that title in Canelo's hands than anybody else's if they can. The only caveat is that Canelo doesn't plan on coming back until 9 months into the coming calendar year.
But it helps his case quite a bit that he's ranked at number 1 with the WBC, ranked at number 1 with the WBO, ranked right behind him is Hamza Shiraz with the WBO. And I think that if Hamza has to choose between a mandated title fight with Christian Mabili or a fight with Canelo,
he'll fight Canelo.
So you have to wonder now if Canelo and his team are going to stick to their original plan to sit out May and come back in September, or will they come back much sooner than that? A good number of world titles have become available for Canelo Alvarez to fight for. There was already an expressed interest from Turki El Sheikh to put Canelo in the ring with his boy,
Hamza Shiraz. You could do it in Saudi, you could do it for a lot of money, and you could theoretically do it for 2 alphabet titles. Something to consider. Now, via the IBF, it's a little different. Via the IBF, Osleys Iglesias of Cuba is ranked at number 1, and Canelo is ranked at number 2. I don't think Osleys Iglesias is even on Canelo Alvarez's radar, but that's the number 1 guy with them. And this is good. The byproduct of Terence Crawford's retirement is the reset button has been hit at 168 pounds, and now those titles are going to be redistributed. A new line of champions will rise. New unification matches. Terence has done most of what there is to do in the sport of boxing. He's become a champion, a multi-weight champion, climbed up the pound-for-pound rank standings, made a fuck ton of money. There was little to no reason to linger, and I'm glad that he didn't.
You know, I kind of wish Usyk would do the same thing, because I think the same things about Usyk that I thought about Terence. You've done it all. There's nothing left to prove, and no reason to stick around. I can only hope that Usyk falls in line with Terence's thinking.
He should retire too. Manny Pacquiao as well. He's still hanging around the welterweight division looking for bums to beat. All in all, the news of Terence Crawford's retirement was welcome news to me. He couldn't have capped off his career any better. Congratulations to him, and have a happy retirement. Enjoy all that money.
Now in men's heavyweight news, ahead of this Friday's mega match on Netflix, Anthony Joshua said, "If I can kill you, I will kill you. That's just how I am." There is zero part of Anthony Joshua that feels the need to carry Jake Paul in a heavyweight bout that is viewed worldwide as a mismatch. Joshua feels an obligation to pummel Paul in a manner similar to how he annihilated Francis Ngannou in March of last year. The 2-time unified heavyweight champion knocked out Ngannou, a former UFC champion, in the first round of a bout that took place 4 months following Ngannou's surprisingly competitive 10-round split decision defeat to another former champion in Tyson Fury. The 6'6", 250-pound Joshua explained his mindset Tuesday night during a question and answer session with reporters in Miami Beach, Florida. And it's not even that it's Jake, Joshua said. It's just that, do you know I was actually looking at myself today? I am a very, respectful guy, brought up by a good family, but if I can kill you, I will kill you. That's just how I am. And this is just the job I do. So, let's go. I found those comments from Anthony refreshing, that he views Jake Paul through the same lens as he would view any other fighter. It's often seen as taboo to say things like that in what is such a dangerous sport where some people do die. Some men, some women, though I don't actually think it's Anthony's intention to kill Jake Paul.
I don't have a stick up my ass about it. I think Anthony, given how he's treated by the boxing community at large, and the media, often not getting a fair shake, he has to view Jake as a serious opponent, even if he isn't. And for how many years now has the boxing world been waiting for a real boxer, a real pugilist, to get his hands on Jake and run him out of boxing? It would happen that that boxer is Anthony Joshua. So he's taking the assignment as seriously, at least, as I would want him to. DraftKings lists Anthony Joshua as a 12-1 favorite to beat the comparatively inexperienced and unproven Paul in an 8-round fight Netflix will stream to more than 300 million subscribers globally from the Kaseya Center in Miami. Joshua, 36, has embraced the responsibility of proving Paul has no business being in the ring with an active, accomplished ex-champion who's won almost 80% of his professional bouts by way of knockout.
Quite right. Just imagine what the conversation would be if Jake Paul goes in there and has any iota of success. If he even wins 1 round, that'll be enough for the boo birds and the critics to tear Anthony down. So he's got to go in there with that killer mindset.
I'm carrying boxing on my back, Joshua said. I've done it with the Ngannou fight, and I'm going to do it again. I understand the expectation. I don't carry it because the expectation I have for myself is already enough. But I understand it, I acknowledge it, and I respect it. But that's about it. As far as outside concerns about this fight, Joshua will end a layoff of almost 15 months when he opposes Paul. He hasn't boxed since countryman Daniel Dubois knocked him out in the 5th round of their IBF title fight. In September of last year at Wembley Stadium in London, Paul of Westlake, Ohio, outpointed former WBC middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez unanimously in his most recent action, a 10-rounder this past June at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California. That fight was contested at the cruiserweight limit of 200 pounds, the division within which the 28-year-old Paul has mostly competed since he made his pro debut in January of 2020. The polarizing Paul lost only an 8-round split decision to British rival Tommy Fury, Tyson's half-brother, in February of 2023, 2 years ago. He's built up his record, as critics consistently pointed out, mostly by defeating faded former MMA fighters, a retired NBA point guard, and a fellow social media influencer.
And that's why Anthony can't play with this guy. That's why he can't go in there and let him have any iota of success. You have to treat him as seriously as you would anybody else, more so because he's an unserious character, an unserious boxer. You gonna let this bum upstage you?
He will if you let him, and if he does, and you allow it, just imagine what people are going to be saying on Saturday and Sunday morning. I think that Anthony Joshua has always had it rough with the critics. They've been picking him apart since before he even lost to Andy Ruiz, looking for reasons to disparage him and tear him down, more so if he allows a social media influencer to get one over on him.
Outwardly, they think this is a mismatch. It's up to Anthony to make it look like one. What I've seen of Jake Paul in the fights that he's had is he likes to move and punch. He likes to get on his toes, stay behind his jab, and box. But he's in an unusual situation because he's not the bigger man here. He was bigger than Ben Askren.
Bigger than Tyrone Woodley, physically bigger than Nate Robinson, bigger than a lot of guys I've seen him in there with, to where now he's in there with someone who's bigger than him, with more height and more reach than he has, and circling away, staying on the outside.
The stuff that Jake normally does would make him a sitting duck against Anthony. You give him room to get the arm out, get the jab out, get the straight out by circling away from him. You're making it harder on yourself. What you're supposed to do is close the distance on him. If he's bigger and you're smaller, the safest place in the ring is within close quarters. And I don't know that Jake Paul even knows how to do that, to close the distance and work the guy from the inside. And that would still require him to come under heavy fire, much heavier than what he's used to.
So I see no reason that this fight should go the distance. I see no reason that Anthony shouldn't be able to knock this guy out. And like I've been saying, I figure that Anthony will carry Jake in the first one, though still punishing him, still using his jab, but he won't go for the finish in the first round. That'll be in either the second or the third, because it is his reputation on the line after all. Every round that passes is an affront to Anthony's boxing acumen.
So he's not going to let it go very long.